very much for having me.
Okay. And then Chukwunonso Ekesilbi is the lecturer, Department of Economics, Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, Ibariam. Good morning, Chukwunonso. Okay. Good to have you here, gentlemen. Well, you heard my intro. There are so many faces and then of this subsidy, but the first one, the first person I'd like to ask this morning, and I'm coming to you, Ekesilbi. Before now, was there anything like subsidy?
Well, you see, almost everything in the country has been politicized. So when we are discussing real issues that affect virtually everybody in the economy, we always try to look at it from one, political prism or the other. Yes, there is subsidy. And normally subsidies are provided by the government to achieve two objectives. One is to reduce the price of a commodity and guarantee the supply of that commodity so, the average individual in the economy can be able to afford that commodity. Then secondly, is to also keep the producer of that commodity in business, because you cannot tell somebody to reduce the price of what he or she is selling and expect that person to remain in business. The person has to make profits. The person has to satisfy other obligations. Now, in our own case, the issue of subsidy has always been there. I think from the 1970s, when we started having this issue of subsidies in the country, it has ballooned beyond what we expected as at then when we had this subsidy issue. So in a recent time, like I think that was in the Jonathan administration, where we were hearing things like the subsidy was to be removed by 2012. But there was a protest, then it was removed partially, then we had Shopee somewhere along the line, then the APC agenda was that, I think that was in 2015, that subsidy was a scam, that is a corrupt enterprise that we have in the country, and they promised that they are going to deal with it. All of a sudden they came in and we started having mixed signals, whether there was actually subsidy or there was no subsidy, and sometimes they came around with another nomenclature and called it under recovery of fuel products and all whatnot. But the truth is, it is staring us in the face.
Okay, so you agree
that
with
there
them,
is subsidy.
There is subsidy.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we have established there is subsidy, let me come to you, Chief Anthony Chibo. What is subsidy exactly? Because I know that in the 80s, when my big brothers were at the UNN, they will always come back and talk about subsidy in their food, that their food are subsidized. We never knew, we are in primary school then, we were hearing that. So what exactly is subsidy?
Subsidy is a kind of a grant that a government gives to a company or a commodity producer to keep the price at a certain level. And what we have in Nigeria today is the corruption of the process of what we call subsidy. If we play back to the Jonathan administration, when this issue of subsidy...
Before we get there, please, now that you have established that subsidy and you have defined it, let's see how, who benefits from subsidy. Let's see, is it like I gave an example of my brothers when they were in the university, is it the students or the management of the university that benefit from that subsidy? Which, of course, I know it was the federal government that's subsidizing their food and a whole lot of things. So who benefits from that subsidy?
The economy, the generality of Nigerians benefit from fuel subsidy. It says it has multiple effects on the entire economic structure of the nation. So everybody benefits from subsidy. The rich, the poor benefit.
Okay, go ahead now.
Now, if we play back to the Jonathan administration, when people began to, when subsidy became a problem to the extent that this year you will budget 10 million naira, the next year it becomes 100 million. So people began to see this Nigerian factor creep keen into that subsidy regime, where people now use that subsidy to scam the nation. You can remember there were 4 guys, I forgot their names, but these guys were linked to the former minister, Design Alice Madeke. These 4 guys were the people that were buying properties all over the world for her, and these guys were people who were being paid subsidy, supposedly. You remember Andrew Yakubu, who was the managing director of the NNPC then, who had to build a sockaway to store his own loot. So what we have is a criminalization of the process of subsidy that has brought us to where we are today. And where are we? Impoverishing Nigerians.
Okay, impoverishing Nigerian. Okay, so I'm throwing the same question to you. When there's a subsidy on a product or a system, who benefits from that subsidy? Okay, like where they gave that example, my brother Steve were saying that because their food were subsidized, they eat 3 times a day. You eat chicken, you eat this, you eat that, and at a very small cost. But now, is this the same thing? Okay, like what we're looking at, the fuel subsidy, when they say it's subsidized, is there any way that a common Nigerian benefit from it, or is it the marketers that benefit from it, or the federal government themselves? Who benefits from subsidy?
Well, from your explanation, everybody benefits from subsidy. But in our own case, we are looking at the nature of the benefits we are talking about. Because, for instance, when you come to fuel subsidy, when the product is subsidized, what it does is it reduces energy costs. And you know that in Nigeria, almost everything we do has to be energized one way or the other. And you have a large informal sector that runs practically everything by themselves. They produce, they provide security, water, power, everything for themselves. So anything that happens to the price of fuel will automatically affect the majority of the Nigerian populace. So by keeping or using subsidy to try to keep the price of fuel low, what it's trying to do is trying to ease the burden. Government is taking away that burden, that cost that people are supposed to carry in terms of energy, and is paying for it. At the same time, the producers, in this case, we are not producing now because our refineries have been moribund for some time. So in this case, it is the marketers that are also being subsidized because they use their money to pay for this product, to purchase this product, to transport it, to distribute, to pay their workers, and so on and so forth. So if these prices are kept artificially low, it will also affect them because they won't be able to recover their investment, let alone make profits. So the government is subsidizing they themselves as well. But like Chief rightly pointed out, the issue with the subsidy we are having today is on 2 grounds. One is that it is no longer sustainable. Because the amount of money we are spending on subsidy. Remember a NIT report said that from 2005 to 2022, that we've spent over 13 trillion on subsidy. Then within the space of 6 months, that is from January to June of this year alone, we budgeted for subsidy just over 3 trillion. 3 trillion. So if you add the 2 of them together, you have spent 17 trillion. And somewhere from 2011-12, the subsidies that did not exceed $1 billion now skyrocketed into trillions. And you begin to, when you look at the numbers, you get confused. How do you reconcile how much we pay on subsidy to how much fuel we are importing, or they say we consume in this country? Because that value is debatable. Because even the director of, what's it called, the controller of General of Customs, was arguing with NNPC not too long ago that the amount of fuel that comes into this country does not reflect what they claim that they are injecting into the economy. So something is not adding up somewhere. Now I've said it's not sustainable. The other one again is the equitable factor. The intention of the subsidy is to, like I mentioned earlier, cushion the effect of these fuel prices so that it does not affect the common Nigerian. Now, if the interest of the subsidy is to appeal to the vulnerable groups in Nigeria and the general masses. Is that intention being achieved? That is where another thing lies. Because now look at the number of cars we have in Nigeria. The number of cars we have in Nigeria is among the poorest in the world. In Nigeria, I think we have just 50 to 1,000, depending on the ratio you are looking at. So how then do you add up that majority of Nigerians cannot afford a car? So if they cannot afford a car, who is using that fuel? Okay, we can come to the point that yes, people use off-grid sources to power their homes and their businesses, the generator and the likes.
That's what I wanted to say. There is no link cars that
yes, that's what I'm saying. But in that sense as well, is it that we don't generate any electricity at all? So when we are looking at the equitable impact in terms of the subsidy, we see that this subsidy is favoring more of the rich because they are the ones that can even buy this fuel in large quantities and use it for whatever it is they want to use it for. So it's a product that is massively consumed by a few, but we go around and say that we are subsidizing it for the masses. So these things, I think, these two major issues are what is the bone of contention today. And like Chief rightly pointed out again, that the process, look, sorry, I don't know if you allow me to just finish on this. The issue we have with subsidy now have been categorized into three. One is that the process, like Chief said, is very corrupt. So the government obviously does not want to do this homework of tidying up the subsidy process. You understand? So it doesn't want to do its own work. So it shies away from that responsibility. Because the way we are making subsidy look nice, we are making it look as if subsidy is a bad thing. No, almost all countries subsidize one product or the other. That's the first part. Then the second part is, since we don't want to clean up the subsidy system in the country, we now have to ask, why are we not refining our products in the country? Because if we refine the products in this country, we will not be having majority of these subsidy concerns. So the same government that doesn't want to clean up the subsidy system because of corruption still doesn't want the refineries to work. Mind you, we spent about $2.something billion to invest in a Dangote refinery. That money is enough to fix all the refineries in Nigeria and get them, at optimum operation. Nobody is talking about that one. Now, the convenient option the government is looking at is to take away the subsidy entirely. Say, okay, let us stop the subsidy, because that is the one that will not affect, the big boys, those who are at that other side. So everybody now will have to suffer this drastic decision.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll move on. We are in a crossroad here as a nation. You don't know the volume of crude oil that you are moving out of this country. You don't even know the quantity of fuel you are consuming. And somebody has posed a question: can somebody, any of the marketers, come out to say that he has received subsidy from the government? At how much did you receive and when did you receive that? And that is why some of us are now asking, this subsidy thing, is it a scam? Is it real? And now that we have, my guest has established that subsidy. Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty of this subsidy. I've asked who benefits. He says it's everybody. And now that it's like this, since you don't know the quantity you are producing, you don't know the quantity you are consuming, and nobody has actually come out to say that I receive this subsidy, among the marketers. How? Who? Again, that can come in. How do they give this, this subsidy? Is it through the forest, or is it through financial inducement to these people? So that we know exactly where we are having problems. Chief.
What we are looking at, if we want to be truthful to ourselves, is a failure of leadership, failure of institutions set up by government to provide certain services. Since 2017, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company has been the sole importer of petroleum products. Marketers like Ipman key into, they buy from the ones they import. It's a monopoly. Every monopoly is a monster. The same Nigerian National Petroleum Company that is the sole monopoly, the same Nigerian National Petroleum Company says it pays trillions to people for subsidy. The same Nigerian National Petroleum Company cannot give you a list of those people who are receiving this subsidy money. The same Nigerian National Petroleum Company has what you call the direct sales, direct purchase agreement with the refiners of this product. That agreement says that I will give you crude for $1 million. You will give me PMS for $1 million. It's just a simple agreement. It's not complex. So where is this money? Where is the subsidy money going into? So people like us, the 8 years of Buhari administration eroded the middle class. What you have now is the rich and the poor in Nigeria. Now, we are going to a point where everybody is probably going into the poverty vicious cycle, because by the time you buy fuel, you might not be able to buy other things. We are talking about people that don't have disposable income anymore. You are making do, you are trying to make do with whatever you have on a daily basis. Your disposable income is totally eroded. So by the time this comes in now, begin to bite, and as it is biting today, you know, people will no longer be able to do anything. So what we are looking at now, we have been, during the 8 years of Buhari, Nigerians were just like, hey, you know, everybody was there. You know, anything that government churns out, we swallow it, we take it hooks, you know, we don't mind, we don't protest, we don't do nothing. So we have come to a stage now where we are going to be, Nigerians are going to be reduced to a point where they can no longer, even if you call for a rally, if you don't eat, can you trek from your house to the rally venue? You cannot. So that is where we are going to. It's a very frightening scenario. The lecturer just told us NNPC invested 20% in a Dangote refinery. Dangote is a private business. A private businessman does not have the interest of you and I at heart. Yeah. The primary motive of every private business is profit maximization. They are sharks. Now, why would NNPC, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, why would they invest Nigeria's money, 20%, in a private enterprise? Now, that private enterprise you are investing in, the money you invested in that private enterprise is enough for you to fix your own refinery. NNPC already is a monopoly. And now they are creating another monopoly outside of government that will now take over petrol prices and then fleece the whole nation. I was actually going to come to that, but now let's start with the removal of the fuel subsidy. In a wake of the inauguration on the 29th of May, the president, Tinubu, just, I think it was the boldest statement that he made, and that was the only thing that we heard. Every other thing that he said that day, nobody could interpret. It's just that fuel subsidy is gone. And gone forever. Okay, now I know that there's been several times that the past government of Buhari said that they're removing subsidy, and after a while it disappears, you know, just to the thing. And now that he has done that without putting anything in place, let's look at that statement, because people like us are thinking that as a new government, that the most important thing that you bring to table now is security. Why subsidy? Removal of subsidy.
You know, like I mentioned earlier, Nigeria is in a fiscal crisis because obviously we have a revenue problem. About 95–96% of our revenue annually goes to servicing debt. Yes. So if we continue with this subsidy, at a point we'll get to a position where we'll have a fiscal crisis on our hands. So, like you mentioned again, the Buhari government has been, stating that it will remove subsidy, but he kept on, kicking the can down the road. And, this postponement continued up to the point where I think it was last year by March, people were expecting him to take a definite stand. And the subsidy thing was moved again to like 18 months later. And that is why he fixed that period. In fact, I would have been suspect of that decision if it was another party that won, because you are more or less creating a problem for the incoming administration, because what we had as a budget was, like I mentioned earlier, from January to June. So you have shied away from that responsibility and put it on somebody else, because what we were having, like if we have a government with the political will, we would have removed subsidy long ago, like when Jonathan wanted to do so, but he bulged under that pressure. Now, there's something we call expectation in economics, especially in information economics. You manage information in such a way that you don't distort, economic activity by, your statements or your presumed body language. Personally, I am 100% in agreement that subsidy should go. But the way the president, our new president, went about that was what I did not really fancy. There's nothing wrong in saying, yes, so I'm going to continue with what my predecessor has left unfinished, like this, like that. I'll complete this road, I'll complete this, and I will carry on with the completion of the subsidy withdrawal plan. When you say it like that, people will know that, okay, it's
at
not
least
saying...
you prepare our mind.
You prepare our minds.
Okay.
But when you come out to say subsidy gone, it's just like, why I mentioned the expectation is that, for instance, you know that as you're approaching Christmas season, when you get to Ember months, people already know that around that period, the price of things normally increase. So they begin to plan ahead. You go for Christmas, you go enoge. So the same thing with subsidy removal. If you have come out to say, that I'm going to follow through with what my predecessor had done, and we will remove subsidy by June, it becomes clearer. But you cannot just make a pronouncement on a policy decision, like as important as fuel, that fuel subsidy is gone. Okay. So people now, and again, let me just point this one. For him to have said that, it shows that he is not in sync with what has been going on, because the last fuel subsidy removal committee meeting of the Federal Executive Council, headed by the former Minister of Finance, what's that her name again? It was expanded to include members of the incoming administration. So the committee was expanded to include them so that they make a more holistic and robust decision on how subsidy is to do. So is it that the new president did not consult with that committee to say, how far have you people gone? You don't just come out and make that kind of statement, because you spread panic into the economy.
Okay, one more question before we go on break, Chief Anthony. One more question. I know he announced that removal of subsidy, and from the information we got, there has been provision for subsidy till the end of June, if not July. And then immediately he made that as announcement. All the marketers, changed their pump price. Even NNPC changed their pump price. Okay, is this legal? What do you expect a responsible government to say or to do in a situation like this, when you know, as we said earlier, that we are still covered till the end of June, and even your own NNPC that is owned by the federal government also participated in changing pump price? What did you expect a responsible government to do at that point, before we move on?
Well, a responsible government wouldn't have been as reckless as the present government. A responsible government will not recklessly, by fiat, create chaos throughout the country, because that's what that statement resulted in. So a responsible government would have looked at what is going to be the short-term, mid-term, long-term effect. How do we mitigate this short-term effect before we go into the process proper? Like the lecturer was saying, we have up to the end of June. If you have up to the end of June, why not prepare people? I say, look, we're going to look at this thing. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then by the time we get there, people will be able to kind of begin to see, to readjust. Like if you have an 8-cylinder vehicle, you know, you begin to think of scrapping it or selling it.
Okay. Now we're taking a break here, but when we return, we're going to look at the effects of the removal of this fuel subsidy, and then look at the idea of privatizing refinery, whereby one person is going to control the way oil is flowed in this, is managed in this country. And we're also going to look at the issue of NNPC not thinking of fixing the refineries in this country. Why? Let's go on break now.
Honestly, remember, it is impromptu. Nobody knew about it. It just at the handing over speech, the president selects Ahmed Bola Tinubu made mention of removal of fuel subsidy, that his arrival in the office is the end of subsidy in Nigeria. And without a memo effect to the filling stations or, dealers, they took effect immediately by increasing the price. Then we as businessmen in the States or in Nigeria is affecting us seriously, because in our various sectors, most of our staff are complaining of not having transport to work, and yet we have not increased their salaries. So, it's telling on us, any reasonable man who has a business conglomerate will definitely feel the impact direct, because from next month, workers will be demanding of a salary increase, which is inevitable. And presently, our products has not appreciated in price, yet the transportation of procuring our raw materials are already high, on the high side, almost double of what we were using to convey our products before. But it has not affected our output price. That's our finished products. So it's affecting us seriously.
Fuel is now 520 naira. Can see. So there are things you have to put in place before subsidy removal. Subsidy removal helps the economy, but you have to put other things in place so that people will not feel it. You can see now 520 naira from 175. You see that kind of thing. So they're messing up the whole thing.
I see this as a very big challenge to the poor masses, especially. Like in the area of, like the challenge we're having now, if you see the price of transport has increased drastically, like by 300%, in fact 200 plus currently. As we speak, like I can give myself as an example, like my car. Just yesterday, I put in 5,000 naira fuel for just 10 liters, which I took to Umbapo and came back. I can't find the fuel anymore, it's gone. So you can see this is the normal 5,000 we can use for like a week plus. Like if you do the calculation currently as it stands, you will notice that one might be spending up to 120-something thousand naira a month for fueling his or her car. And and in return, everybody knows that before you know, things will start. In fact, things have already gone up. My advice is the government should see how they can cushion the effects or the impact of this on citizens. If they can, I'm not asking them to actually remove the subsidy, but they already know other things they would have done to cushion this effect. I think it would have worked better. Like if they had, come up with a plan, like maybe providing buses for the poor masses, or providing alternative means of transportation.
Yan nwere ike ikwu ụlọ ya wala ọwụwa mmebi kamala anyị eje ikwu okwu na makala oge good luck mbanyere this kind of thing. Yeah, the first time nọrọ ihe fuel problem fuel before this our president nke abịa onye leme onye bido ụlọ ụtụtụ ihe ọ la adị otu a Kamalan, some people will ike na ha aja water. Yota. Ha kute kueli cut our president in Kabara. Yota. But to even each line, all a mechacha like this. So Molongum believe la oya dokwam. And very soon oya dum.
Okay, we're na this fuel subsidy now. That in the ammonia on affect. In the main load, if na main load the empty. On your abuna, even my passenger chore by moto, only they happy. Eba on it is your gonamba. So ije kwe ba fuel aba. Driver rocha olu ko je ba fuel. Ego ni no rotara, o we hancha ba fuel. So the thing the ammonia we metro onyo abuna. Nobody is happy now. Ego ni ya bata just we ba fuel. E no kwa empty. O de ka na haro. E onwe ka government yesi we nya aka. Sinyera ya aka na se batara yo sanya maka na de thing na go too much.
Welcome back. It is still Good Morning Anambra, and this is our discussion segment where we are looking at the removal of the fuel subsidy and its effects as a matter of fact. And I still have gentlemen in the house, Nonso Ekesobi and Chief Anthony with me. Now, we said that when we come back, we'll start looking at the monopoly of the product that is in question, and then what's the effect of the removal of the subsidy in our nation. Okay, but now let's first of all look at what is trending, which is the NLC gearing up. And just this morning, we heard that they didn't attend the meeting that was supposed to be in the federal government. I mean, they kind of withdrew, saying that before we continue with this meeting, you have to get back to the status quo. Take the fuel pump price where it is, and then let's come and negotiate where it should be now, not when you have removed it and then you call us for negotiation. Okay, and a whole lot of things. The TUC is talking about increase a minimum wage and a whole lot of things. Let's look at that, Chief Anthony. How do we mitigate this? Because I know the effect is not going to be palatable if eventually labor goes on strike.
Well, I am on the side of labor, 100%. Why? You can't be paying my daughter 30,000 naira and expect her to go to work with what is happening now. Government took a decision. Labor and government are partners in progress. Government took a decision without considering that partnership. And labor is saying, no, you must go back. Then we can now talk. I think labor is on the right path because government should have considered that there were standing agreements they reached with labor regarding this very issue before they, go ahead and by fiat do whatever they felt was necessary for them to do. And labor has more information about the dynamics of this fuel system than ordinary people think, because labor know that NNPC is a monopoly. Labor know that NNPC is the same people that is having agreement with the people that purchase our crude, that in return, sell PMS to us. They know the price. So if you sell fuel, if you sell crude oil at $30 per barrel to me, and I refine it, one barrel of crude gives us about 170 liters of fuel. So if you break it down, add all the costs, the shipping cost and everything, you are looking at about 80, 90 naira to land this fuel here. Yes. So what are we now saying? What is it? What is the problem?
How do you now move it, something that's supposed to be 90 naira to 540 naira?
The problem comes back to the Nigerian problem, corruption. Corruption. Everything in this country is corrupted. We conducted an election with 320 billion naira. A country of an estimated population of 200 million people. While India, a country of 1.5 billion people, did the same with about $470,000. What is the problem we have is For every product, if you want to do this for federal government, they will load it up. If the cost of this product is 10 naira, it will be loaded up to 1 billion naira, because there are people, chains of people that must benefit for that product or for that service to be provided.
And let's hold it so that I don't go into depression this morning. Okay, let's look at this issue of NNPC maybe trying to give their birthright, like ISO, to Dangote.
Yes.
Okay, thereby just ayota by investing, in a private refinery. What is the implication of this?
Many conspiracy theorists will tell you that the essence of all these things is to make sure that they hand over the economy of this country to Dangote. That, like I said, is a conspiracy theory. But if you look at the argument being put forward, you will be tempted to believe what is being flown around, because Dangote refinery was hurriedly commissioned, and we were told that we should not expect anything from there till around August or thereabouts.
Is it August or July?
July, August.
Oh.
So I now ask, why were you in a hurry to go and commission something that is not yet ready? And again, we are asking why again is this subsidy removal, taking this kind of seriousness, at the same coincidence with the takeoff of the Dangote refinery. So you see that maybe they know that if you allow these our refineries to work, they will be requested to be accountable for it. So it's better you put it in private hands, you put the economy in private hands, and you go behind and expect some level of compensation or reward, sort of. So again, the same conspiracy theorists will ask, like we have discussed earlier, why did the government even invest in the refinery in the first place, when the refinery was not set up as maybe a PPP arrangement, public-private arrangement. So these things, bringing all these things together, is casting doubts on the sincerity of purpose of our leadership. And when you don't have good leadership, you have weak institutions, like the chief has said, you'll be faced with this kind of problems. It is very unfortunate that we are still discussing this issue of subsidy till now. Another thing that these conspiracy theorists will tell you is this, that you announced that subsidy is gone. The same NNPC that is now more or less has been commercialized now by NNPC Limited and so on and so forth. Instead of taking time to look at its numbers, mind you, some of the spokesperson of the federal government, after noticing the error they made, started coming back to make clarification that he said it is gone does not mean it has gone immediately. But the main news has already flown,
gone out.
This one you are saying is medicine after death. So when you say NNPC Limited coming out to announce that it has raised prices and the rest, what then do you have to say about the autonomy per se of this NNPC Limited? And again, why are you fixing prices in an era when you are claiming that you have deregulated the petroleum industry, especially with the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act and what we have at our fiscal framework for 2023? So we are having irreconcilable differences. You are saying something with on one side, and on the same breath you are doing something else. So these are issues that are complicating the matter even further, because by rights, after the presidential media team came out to say no, everybody should calm down, that's not what he meant. The prices are supposed to revert
that's what
to
we're
normal
saying. That's what
before
we're saying.
the expiration by June.
If you feel they did not do what you expected,
that is why the Labour guys are
insisting.
That's why the Labour guys are insisting that no, we should go back, because Achoba money from what was appropriated in the 2023 budget. Money has been provided for June.
1 second.
So what's happening to that money?
1 second, please. Okay. Hello. Okay, sorry. Okay, that's what we said, that from what they told us, that the provision of this subsidy has been made up to June, at least the last day of the June. So that money that's supposed to take care of June, who takes it? Ijoma. Okay, let's go. Let's go. And let's still dwell on a little bit on this conspiracy theory, talking about the Dangote oil refinery, which of course we knew that's what has been going on for a long time in this nation, where there's, Dangote has been given a kind of monopoly over so many products like the cement, the sugar, and a whole lot of things, okay? And this, based on that conspiracy story, that this is not just Dangote, that this is where the big boys invest their looted money, okay? They get together, keep Dangote on the front line, and then, start a project under his name, and everybody will invest their looted account on that. Have you heard that conspiracy story? And if you have heard, do you think it is true, judging from what happened in this refinery thing?
Well, I don't want to even consider it a conspiracy theory. I want to call it a fact.
Wow.
Do you know why I want to call it a fact? The governor of the central bank, on the day that the refinery was commissioned,
said that he has finished
had the audacity.
Just hold it there. Yeah, hello. Good morning. Hello. Okay. Go ahead.
He had the audacity to tell you and I that Dangote have repaid 70% of the loan he collected to build the refinery. You see, I collect a loan to build a factory. I have not started production. I have not even put my products are not there, out there. Nobody have paid in. I have not gone to the stock market to raise money for my factory. And I have paid 70%. Where did I get the 70%?
Like they're talking to fools.
If Dangote had that 70% to repay, he wouldn't have borrowed the money at the initial. So it's not a conspiracy theory. Dangote, I don't envy him. I need to, if I have opportunity to see him one-on-one, look at him in the face, I say, my friend, you're a fraud. You're not a billionaire. Because Dangote is not. He's not a billionaire. He's not a rich man as far as I'm concerned, because he is living on our commonwealth. And NPC invested 2.8 million in that refinery without consulting you and I. NPC is supposed to be owned by all of us.
They say 2.8 million.
$2.8 billion in that refinery without consulting us, without making arrangements to repair our own refinery. So it's not a conspiracy theory. Every looted money is, Dangote, how did he start? It was during the Abacha days. He was given a monopoly on salt, from salt to sugar. And gradually, you push everything to him,
shutting down
and shut down every other competition. So an NPC that is a monopoly may be our own monopoly, because we permitted for an NPC to be monopoly. The people who are in the National Assembly permitted it. Why would an NPC? Why wouldn't you open the place up so that every importer can bring in their own fuel and sell at their own price?
Exactly.
But NPC, they gave them the monopoly. Now they want to transfer that monopoly further to Dangote, who will now squeeze all of us.
You have kind of preempted my next question, which I wanted to ask. In all this playing out about the subsidy, whether there is subsidy, whether there's a removal, and whatever is going to be the effect, what is the role of the National Assembly? What have they done to ensure that they checkmate these excesses of the executives?
It is unfortunate, my dear sister. What we have is not a National Assembly. We have an assembly of men who bought their way into power and go there to represent themselves, not you and I. What happens in the National Assembly is that a bill comes up there, somebody pays to get that bill. You can see a bill can come up now, first, second reading, takes place in 24, 48 hours. While some other bills have been there since the last 4 years, nobody is talking about them. They are in the shelf of the committees. So we have a system that is not working. A system collapse. If you have a National Assembly you can walk into this morning, the president can write a letter this morning demanding $800 million today, and the National Assembly will pass that will approve that today, the same day, without asking questions. A debtor nation A nation that is using 93% of their GDP to service debt.
1 second, sir. Is anybody here? Yeah, hello? Hello? Hello, good morning. Okay, I think we're having a network issue here. Yes, that's my next question. The $80 billion, where is it?
800 million.
800, please. Where is it? They said they're going to use it to cushion the effect of oil subsidy. Of course, they got that money when the subsidy was not removed, and it was the government that is leaving that got that money. Is it for the one that is incoming that you have to allow to decide what he wants to do with subsidy and how he wants to handle it? Otherwise, is it the same conspiracy story that that they got this money to settle themselves as a parting gift? Okay, otherwise, where is that money? Because I know that the National Assembly has approved it, and I heard it has been moved. Okay, so where is the money?
I'm not aware whether the money has been disbursed. I will have to check that immediately after this program. But
okay.
The same conspiracy theorists are still saying that in agreement with what you just alluded to, that this money is what they want to use to see themselves
Parting
off.
gift.
Because remember, one, this is not the first time we are subsidizing a product. When we remove subsidy for diesel, we said that everything will perfect. Till today, that money that was supposed to go to diesel,
nobody can give accounts of it.
Where is it?
Yeah, hello. Hello. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, hello. Hello. Okay.
So so that's one part of the story. We have said that we have removed subsidy for diesel, but today we are looking for what we are to do with subsidy. Then secondly, the normal thing is when you remove a subsidy from a product, that subsidy is supposed to be like a savings to you because you are no longer spending that money on something. Yes. So that money is supposed to be like a new source of revenue to you to invest in something else. Just take a cue from what happened in Jonathan government. When they removed subsidy partially then, the government did not go to borrow to cushion the effect of the subsidy. Rather, that the savings from that subsidy removal was what we used to set up a Shopee, subsidy reinvestment program. Mm-hmm. You see, that one was clear. At least you could point to the fact that, yes, you could see some buses, branded Shopee and the rest of them. Mm-hmm. So, but this one now, we have not put in clear terms what we intend to use the subsidy money for. Yes, the president in his inaugural speech was saying that he's going to put it in infrastructure, health, education. That's general commentary. So if we are going to use that money, what are we going to use that money for? And why are you borrowing another 800 million for the same, to cushion what effects? Mind you, because they said that I think they were talking about, it's going beyond what the chief said, EK 5,000. No, because the damage this thing is going to have, even 5,000, per household, will not resolve it.
What is 5,000 for?
We are saying
I come from Onitsha. I just bought 5,000 naira.
Remember,
Deba bought 5,000. 9 liters.
The National Bureau of Statistics.
That could even take me from Onitsha to this place.
The National Bureau of Statistics, a Nigerian institution, not a foreign institution, said that we have about 133 million who are multidimensionally poor. In multidimensional poverty, you are looking at poverty across different spectrums. Yes. Education, health, this one, so on and so forth. So if you have that amount of people poor, ab initio, and you remove subsidy, imagine jumping from 200, 220 to 500. That's over 100% increase. Imagine what people have to pay. In fact, like Chief said again, if you spend all your money on transport, for instance, what will you now use to cater for other basic needs that will improve your quality of life? So many Nigerians are still going to, like he said again, drop into the poverty bracket. Many of them.
Okay. As we round off, let's look at the direct effect on the citizens. That removal of the oil subsidy, direct effect it will have on the citizens. Like I told you that I bought fuel, 5,000 naira worth of fuel yesterday, and it was just 9 liters. Can you imagine? Okay, and then assuming you want to park your car and jump into a public transport, you may be paying from 1,500 to 2,000 naira to come from Onitsha, and then you go back, then you have consumed that 5,000 naira, and your what do you call it? Your transport allowance for at your level is not up to 2,000 per day, but you have spent 5,000. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's look at the direct effect on the citizenry. And why we do that, some people were saying, Chief Anthony, some people were saying, since we are just 200 million people and you borrowed $800 million, why don't you first of all, okay, go to 1 million to 200 people, you can wait 600 left. You got to go before you be say what is about this?
Direct effects.
Direct effects on us.
Since the 1st of June, I've not bought fuel. Deliberately refused to buy fuel. I have been trekking, short distances.
Which is good for the body.
Yes. I've entered bus. I went to Onitsha just to know what is happening. I didn't have any business in Onitsha. I entered the bus and went to Onitsha to know how much it costs. And then I came back. Then I entered shuttle around Oka. Saw people trying to do fist-cuffs because of 50 naira. The shuttle driver says it's 150. He said, no, all I have is 100 naira. And then a fight broke up. I had to break up that fight and augment that 50 naira to save the situation.
Let's see if you are lucky. Yeah, hello? 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 Somebody's here, talk. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
So, what I am seeing, I don't know the vocabulary, lecturer.
Because we don't really understand what's going on. Because if you only want to gari bacha egomoto be less gari, one penta gari that was hit to 900 naira is now 1,004. Then you ask yourself, how many family can afford it now?
Now.
Okay? Just like that in every other commodity that we consume. Umaka na ebe na aja akwa ife bunye mumaka ka mufana eji 200 naira akwa before. She came back, say mommy no is enough 500 naira. Kageji we akwa 1 penta of akam. Came akifo na fuel etinye ego. Iji pump tire is 200 naira to pump a tire instead of the usual 100 naira. Why fuel it? So this direct effect on us in a day, you fully spend if you could spend in a month. Okay? So how do we survive this?
We thank God that some of us are even having what to spend. There are people they out there, you understand me, that have to maybe sell something every day to put food on the table. Their capital base is about 15,000, not more. Yes. Now, those people, when they are unable to now do that thing they do every day, what happens? So I'm looking at a total breakdown. I am not an alarmist, but like I said, in the last 4 days, I have traversed around my locality, and what I see is a total, we are looking at a total breakdown if something does not give. That is why I support NLC 100%. If we don't stop, and then begin on a better note, I don't know how far we can go with this situation.
Okay, thank you. I hope when NLC achieves something, because when I was listening to Tinubu making that declaration, he was saying that he is ready to withstand the heat that will come out of the removal of the subsidy, which one of them is the strike from NLC and a whole lot of things, maybe criticism and all that. Quickly before we go, what is this, what effect is it going to have on us directly, and apart from the poverty that it has created, what next? Like a chief has foreseen a breakdown of law and order. Are there other things you think that could come out of this removal of subsidy?
Well, by removing subsidies, like the general effect will have to do on income. Disposable income, because you see yourself spending a lot of money on things that ordinarily would not cost you half of what you are spending today. So by so doing, it's like I mentioned earlier, the country, we are largely an informal sector. So we are depending on this fuel, more than what we ought to. Assuming, for instance, we have 24 hours electricity. People, at least, we will not be, producers will not be groaning the way they are groaning. Assuming we have alternative means of moving goods and services across the country, like through railway or other methods, that don't depend directly on this fuel. We will be having, this kind of lesser effect. Mind you, like I mentioned, though, that removing subsidy is good. But if we are being made to swallow this bitter pill, in order to recover, we should be seeing the same efforts on the side of the government. Like for instance, I want to commend the government, for instance, by this recent policy of removing electricity from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. So states now can generate electricity.
Are you expecting them to do the same
thing? So all these things
are
things that are supposed to have taken off long ago, so that by the time we'll be approaching this period of subsidy removal, we will not be feeling this uncomfortable.
Okay, perhaps if this is what you expect, I mean, judging from what happened in the electricity, if you have that in the production of this oil and gas, maybe we'll start looking at encouraging local producers like Ndinkano Riverine area. When you produce on your battalion,
sorry, I just want, let me chip in.
Okay, we are running off.
Please. When we say labor, minimum wage, increasing minimum wage, there's a problem at some subnational levels where some people, we are not even talking of minimum wage. She could go to kg. Some states are still owing over 10 months, 20 months. So,
some are not even in the minimum wage.
How do you expect these people to survive?
Some are still at 18,000 naira. You're talking about 30,000 an increase. Okay, we must continue. That's just the bottom line, okay? So that's what I'm trying to say. But what Jido Bigaka, when I said sometimes when you talk about Nigerian issue, you see that you are getting depressed. But when you're Jido Bigaka, oh yeah, demma, you are to take a tack or demma, or danger, or demma, dalono. Okay, thank you very much. The people that joined me this morning to look at this. Chief Anthony Chibo, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you very much for
Delighted
coming.
to be here.
Okay, and then Chukwunonso Ekesobi, Lecturer, Department of Economics, Chukwu Emeka Odumegwu Chukwu University, Ibariam. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Okay, and I just hope they're not going to do to labor what they did to ASU, like divide and rule.
Don't bring that one up.
They have been doing that. Don't bring it up. This time around, I don't know if it will work for them.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. For those of you that tried calling in and it didn't work, I'm so sorry. It could be the network. That's the same thing. Maybe very soon we'll see how we can subsidize the network too, and then or remove the subsidy in network and see if it can work. Thank you, cameraman. Thank you, the producer, Ify, the ops director, the audio, and the whole lot of people that made it happen this morning. Thank you very much. My name is CJ. God keeping us. We'll continue from where we stopped yesterday. Our own is to talk. Okay? God bless you.